Hey, it's Jack from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. Let's talk about the Massachusetts single-family home market report for October 2023. Let's start with price as we always do. Let's dive right into it. And the average sales price of a single-family home in Massachusetts slipped a little bit last month to $745,000 on average statewide. You can look at the chart here, and it's clear that we have a kind of a floor set at about $650,000 for the average. And it's also clear that we've been on a little bit of a roller coaster here, and that typically, sometime in the fall, things tend to slow down. But you'll also notice that the dip this month, and just look at that chart, it's a little bit more acute to the downside than it had been in some other months. So the big question is this a normal part of the seasonal cycle, or is this the impact of interest rates, which we cannot do this report without talking about interest rates. And if we go to Mortgage News Daily, you can see that the interest rates that closed Friday for a 30-year fixed conventional loan was 7.81. And boy, this is a trend. This is the map. This is the chart for this year that's been just headed straight up for a very long time. Let's see if I can kind of, there we go. It's just been headed straight up basically since the summer of 2021. Interest rates are on their way to 8%. So each one of these like milestones, 7%, 7.5%, 8%, they do have a psychological impact on the market, and no one's seen 8% mortgage rates for a really long time. So yeah, that's gonna definitely impact the market, and it's just around the corner. Inventory also creeped up in September, up 735 homes statewide, and that's the largest single increase in inventory than we've had since July of last year, so well over a year. So big bump up. Inventory went up about 20-something%, which isn't that unusual in terms of this time of year. But the question is it seasonal or is it interest rate driven? We're going to have to keep a very close eye on this inventory number. Now, again, from a historical perspective, it's not unusual for us to have 8,000, 9,000, 18,000 homes like we did a decade ago. So historically, the number is still very low. But that is a fairly big jump in 1 month, month over month, up 735 homes. But for now, it remains a seller's market, with sellers in September getting 102% of the original list price of the home. So if you wanted to buy the home, you had to bet it up a little bit in order to get the winning offer. Days to offer fell fairly steady at about 3 weeks from when you list your house to when you accept an offer. 20 days, 3 weeks, we'll call it. Hey, what's a day between friends? So still, it's not flying off the shelf in the first day, but 3 weeks is pretty quick. Ooh, isn't this interesting? Total number of homes sold in September, 3129, and it's usually not uncommon to start to see some weakness this time of year in the total number of closed homes. Remember, this is a lagging indicator. If it closed in September, it probably went under agreement in August or maybe late July. But if you'll notice, we also didn't have the same type of peak in terms of sales volume that we had the last couple of years. It was kind of like an anemic market, and basically this is part of the bigger story, this rate lock story, where interest rates are so high that it doesn't make sense to sell your house and then like to downsize to get a smaller house and pay the same payment, because you're moving from 4% interest rate to 7.5% interest rate. And also buyers are struggling with the payments at 7.5 or almost 8 now. And so there's not as many people out there selling, and there's not, you see, but in a weird way, it's kind of hit this kind of equilibrium where we are at now. And the same thing happened with pending sales, 3,473 pending sales last month. But you can also see that peak that we had in May was lower than the peak we had in the prior May and lower than the peak we had the prior. So the total volume of transactions in the system is slowing down. But for you, if you're buying or selling, it seems like everything's kind of like equaling out, so to speak. So it doesn't really matter that much that there's not a lot of transactions happening, at least to you as an individual buyer or a seller. All that really matters is your singular transaction. And unless the interest rates really start to break the housing market, pretty much everything is more or less like steady as you go right now. The big question that we face over the next couple of months will be, is this the normal seasonal slowdown, or are these interest rates going to make it more acute than the normal seasonal slowdown? All right, until then, I'm Jack from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. Have a great day.